Well, hello there all you absolutely magnificent people, and welcome back to another episode of An Ecologist Plays, where we talk about nature while playing games. My name is Will, and we are back in Grounded 2, or the early access of Grounded 2 at least. Finally back. My word, it has been a day since I've been in this game, and well, I'm finally back to more or less full strength, and I more or less have my voice back, so that is absolutely marvelous. Great to be back with all of you, and great to actually be recording again. Now, today we are going to be talking about how on earth invertebrates survive the cold weather, particularly freezing. Because, well, that is not something that is easy to survive, especially not if you are an invertebrate, especially not if you are cold-blooded. And that is exactly what we will be talking about today. But before we do, we are just going to say hello to the orb weaver over here, because we can, and I do believe, there has been some changes with the daggers, and of course we are playing this after the actual update finally has been released, so this is now the first video I'm recording in October. So yeah, we have a few changes that have happened, but we will roll with the punches. I know the daggers have kind of been nerfed, but you know what, that is fine. They were extremely powerful. And, well, something that is not extremely powerful is Antilda over here deciding that, what's going to be fun? Let us attack the ladybug. Because, why not? Now, ladybugs are actually one of the species that are able to survive cold weather, but they do it by actually hiding. They just kind of try to avoid the cold weather. I mean, you don't have to worry about surviving something if you can avoid it altogether. But we'll chat about that in a moment, after getting rid of this little guy over here. There we go. Finally destroyed. Right. Now, I'm going to get Antilda to just come and plop down over here. Come, Antilda. Hey, Annie. Annie, are you okay? Annie, are you okay? Yes, there we go. Okay, great. Stand right there. Thank you. Or, go your own way. Whichever one you want to do. Alright, so the base is coming along. As you can see, a few towers. That tower in particular has expanded a bit. And yeah, I have built a few things, but very importantly, I also have made myself some new daggers, the Wolf's Bane daggers. I've been hunting wolf spiders whenever I have the chance, so yeah, I have taken care of some of the wolf spiders, and now we've got some new daggers. That's great. And something else we can also make would be the fuzzy armor, because we need this. So let's just craft all 3 parts there, and there we go. Now we finally have the fuzzy armor set. And let's, of course, just quickly upgrade those all to level 3. And then one last thing we are going to do is we're just going to make some more smoothies, particularly the Blazing Brew. And just a quick nap, of course, followed by a quick drink and a quick breakfast. And now I think we are ready to finally head on over to the ice cream cart. Oh, not that I'm necessarily looking forward to running around the ice cream cart, but let's do it nonetheless. Now, the fuzzy armor set that we have is actually a strategy used by quite a few invertebrates to try and reduce the impact of colder weather, particularly frost, because, well, fuzziness is a strategy that you can use to prevent ice crystals forming right on your tissue, so right on your body. Instead, water droplets will accumulate on the fur or the fuzz of the invertebrate, and that's then where the ice crystals will form. And this is a very important reason why they do not want ice crystals forming within their body, because, well, ice crystals can break the cells apart. Because, well, when ice crystals form, water actually expands. And if that happens, well, that is potentially damaging to the cells, because those ice crystals, as the water expands to form the ice crystals, well, those ice crystals can actually puncture the cell membrane. If you're a plant, it can actually puncture through your cell wall as well. And, of course, we've got all the mozzies coming for us. So we're just going to, slice and dice, slice and dice. Yeah, you stand no chance. You have no power here. Oh, it seems we are going to be under attack as well at some point. Well, bring it. Bring it. I don't care. Ah, there we go. Okay, so I do believe our buggy over here will not be able to follow us into the snow, though, because it is a little bit too cold for it. The species like the ants over here generally wouldn't be able to go in there. But as I was saying, with the fuzziness, because we are going to actually equip our fuzzy parka now, what will happen is the fuzz there actually results in water droplets accumulating on it, and that's then where the ice crystals will form. Instead of forming in the cells or right on the body of the little invertebrate, it forms a little bit above, a little bit away from the body, and that's a great adaptation already. Of course, you can also trap some air between your actual body and the fuzz there, so that air then acts as a good insulator, meaning that you are not as severely affected by the temperatures outside, which is also great. Absolutely wonderful. But that's not enough to save a lot of species. Instead, they need some other adaptations as well. Let's see, can we... Yeah, we can actually run around quite nicely here. Let's actually grab a torch, bring that out as well, so that we can survive in the cooler weather. Of course, we do have our smoothies as well. Let's actually get those out as well. Put that on the hotbar. And there, of course, that's where we need to go. We need to go into the ice cream cart there. And well, it is quite chilly here. Of course, coming into contact with, well, snow in this case, that is quite bad. That is going to result in your body temperature dropping quite a bit. And if you are an invertebrate, if you are a cold-blooded animal, but do keep in mind that not all cold-blooded animals are actually invertebrates. You have reptiles, for example, as well, generally being cold-blooded. Their body temperature is affected by the ambient temperature. So in cold conditions, like in this ice cream cart, they are going to battle. Their body temperature is going to drop as well. And that can be lethal to them. Not only because the cell membranes may actually be punctured by ice crystals, but overall it may just be too cold for them to survive. They may just die in the cold temperatures as well. So, how do they then stop that from happening? As I've mentioned, fuzz is an adaptation they can have, because that will... Ooh, that's cookie. That's going to be nice, something to eat. Let's just grab some more. And you can see there we are starting to chill up. We are starting to get a little bit cold. So what we're going to do is we're going to drink a smoothie there. And that smoothie, the blazing brew, should then heat us up. And we can move around again. We were getting frozen a bit. That's not great. That was not ideal. But now we are able to move around a bit again. Until, of course, we start freezing again. Now, of course, there are quite a few things here that we can get. One thing, we also will encounter a whole bunch of scorpions. So let us actually battle them and just, kill a whole bunch of them. Interesting that as we fight, we also do heat up. As we kill a whole bunch of them, we can actually heat up a bit, which is marvelous. Nice way for us to heat up. And that is very similar to one way that a lot of invertebrates actually do survive the cold. They stay active, because as you move, you actually will generate heat, and that can heat you up sufficiently to keep you warm. Some bumblebees, for example, yes, they will have fuzz that will keep them warm, but additionally, they will also buzz, and they will vibrate quite a bit. And what that then does is it does generate some heat, which is an amazing adaptation to try and stay warm. But that's usually not enough. Let us just try to block most of the attacks there. Thankfully, we did survive the stinger. We did not taken out by the stinger. And there we go. We generate some more heat again. We're just going to keep on poking you with our mosquito needle. We can kind of out-heal most of the damage you do to us, little northern scorpion. Scorpling. Of course, we are going to get some chocolate chips over here as well. And some of them are just rolling down. I'm not running after them. I'm not that desperate for chocolate chips. But interestingly enough, if you look at things like great white sharks, now great white sharks and bluefin tuna as well. Ooh, there's something here that we can dig up. What is here? Yeah, sure, I saw something. There we go, something to pick up. Buried treasure. If you look at great white sharks and you look at the bluefin tuna, they are, well, fish. Okay, well, sharks and fish, cartilaginous fish and then bony fish. And they are typically what we would consider cold-blooded. But they are more endothermic or more warm-blooded than you may initially think, because they generate a lot of heat as they swim around, as they move, especially bluefin tuna, which are very active in cold waters. They swim around quite a lot, and their muscles, as they swim, actually generate a lot of heat. And that heat then, that heated blood, actually flows in what we call a countercurrent system and actually transfers heat over to blood flowing towards the brain of the fish, allowing them to remain a little bit more active, allowing the brain to receive warmer water and the fish then to, in essence, become a little bit warm-blooded. which is not something we typically consider, but we'll talk about that, I'm sure, again in future. It's just not the focus of today's video. We'll chat about that at a different time, I'm sure. At some point, we are going to be talking about great white sharks and bluefin tunas and the rythme mirabile, or the countercurrent system that they have. Let's just grab the torch again. And we're just going to go up here first before we go down again, because I do want to just quickly go heat up a little bit. And we should be able to do that up here without having to drink a smoothie. We'll leave the smoothies for when we really desperately need them. Let's just get into the warmer air, because, well, technically this is another adaptation you can have. If you are a cold-blooded creature, if you are a little invertebrate, just go to where it isn't icy cold. Just migrate. And I say just migrate, as if that is something easy to do. But if you look at monarch butterflies, for example, in the US, for example, they will do that. And if you look at a whole bunch of other some species at least, will migrate to warmer climates. If you can't handle the cold, just go somewhere where it isn't cold. Or isn't as cold, at least. Oh, there's a gold molder over there. There's a mega molder. Wonderful. So, thus far, we have talked about having fuzz as an adaptation to the cold. We've talked about staying active as a way to survive the cold. But there are some other ways you can also survive the cooler weather. And a lot of invertebrates will also use those strategies. And those would be things like having antifreeze in your body. Particularly antifreeze proteins, or antifreeze glycolipids, which are sugars bound with lipids. So those are good strategies to try and remain warm in cooler conditions. Prevent your blood from actually freezing. Now, I say blood, but technically it's not blood, it's hemolymph, which is, the fluid inside the body of the invertebrates. So it's not technically blood, but the fluid, the liquid in the body. If you can prevent that from freezing, that's great. That is absolutely marvelous. And a lot of organisms will do that. So I'm pretty sure these scorpions that we've got here in the game, the northern scorpions, because they are able to survive cooler conditions, they would be using the antifreeze, or they have got some antifreeze chemicals, and we're just going to have our own antifreeze by drinking that smoothie there. Oh, there's something. Oh, I know what that is. I can't say I'm keen for this, but I think we should at least try. Okay, so I'm going to equip my shield, and then let's see if we can get our icicles here. Because I would like these daggers. They would be absolutely marvelous, but we've got to survive a whole bunch of waves of scorpions. At least, as we kill the scorpions, we should be able to heat up and stay warm, which is marvelous. There we go. Some more on this side. And some more on this side. Hey, no. Leave it alone. Oh, and it's bigger ones as well. Hello there. There we go. That was important to actually stun it. No. Leave it alone. You're not going to go for that. No. We are really staying nice and toasty here just by staying active. There we go. Some more there. And a bigger one over here. Okay. Let's actually grab this one's attention. And then the small one as well. Because if we can grab their attention, they're not focused on the icicles. I hear rumbling. Now, rumbling, that also indicates that they're digging. And that is actually another strategy that a lot of invertebrates use to prevent themselves dying in the colder conditions. If you're looking, for example, at the soil, unless the soil actually freezes, you can remain relatively safe against the cold by being underground. Either in the leaf litter, and that's a big one. So let's, try not to be killed by it. Aha, miss. I love the sound that the scorpions make. That's kind of stridulation right there, which is very often a lot of invertebrates actually are able to stridulate, which is when they vibrate certain body parts against one another, and in the process, they create sound. Now, scorpions are not the only ones that can do that. A few scorpions can stridulate. Not all scorpions stridulate, but some do. And I know, for example, that velvet ants, some of them will also stridulate, in particular the females. They will stridulate to attract the attention of a male. Technically, crickets also stridulate when they're chirping away. That's stridulation as well. They they are vibrating certain body parts against one another to, in the process, create sound. And some scorpions, very often they do this kind of more as a defense mechanism, rather than trying to draw attention to themselves. It's more a way of trying to scare you away from them, I guess. So that's why those scorpions, they most likely are producing a sound. It's not like they are speaking or making it with vocal cords. They're creating that sound there by actually stridulating, by moving body parts against other parts. And there we go. We got the icicles. Ha ha! Oh, that is marvelous. And oh yeah, there's a buried treasure here, which I think I know. Yeah, this is a chest that we need a key for, and it's the frostbitten key, which is somewhere below us. But that is, yeah, not what we're probably not going to do that today. I will probably do that off screen, just for those of you that also would like to have a spoiler-free playthrough, just so you can go find it yourselves. I do not spoil the location of the key for you. But as I was saying, being underground is another strategy you could use to prevent yourself dying, freezing to death. Because the leaf litter, for example, leaf litter very often traps air, and that will form a bit of an insulating layer, very similar to the fuzz that we've got on our parka over here, or on our armor, that traps air between the fuzz and our body. Well, that is a good insulator. It keeps you nice and toasty. So if you can be under leaf litter, even if there's snow above you, very often it is a little bit warmer amongst the leaves there. So that is a strategy you could also use. Or just go into an area where it is nice and warm. You have, for example, the ladybugs or the lady beetles, the ladybird beetles. They generally congregate in houses as you start going into autumn and then into winter. Because, well, houses are nice and toasty, so why not go into it? So if you have a house, and especially if you are in the US, especially the northern part of the US where it gets very cold, very often what you'll have are thousands of these harlequin lady beetles, the Asian lady beetle, actually accumulating in your house or gathering in your house. Apparently quite smelly, if I'm not mistaken. They do have a scent that they produce as a defense mechanism, which is, not great if they are gathering in your house. Luckily, we don't have them in as great numbers here in South Africa, so I am, quite happy about that. All right, okay, now I know where we are. We are just going to, I guess, run up again. We can actually now, I wanted to get the icicles. That was the main reason why I was here. But anyway, the antifreeze compounds. What they also do is they try to promote, first of all, they try to promote ice crystal formation outside of actual cells. In some species that we say are typically freezing tolerant, they're able to freeze and survive, they often have what we call ice nucleating agents. And those are things like certain specialized proteins that actually promote the formation of ice crystals. Now you think, well, that's bad, Will. Didn't you just say they don't want ice crystals to form? Well, they don't want ice crystals to form inside their cells. Instead, they want the ice crystals to form. This is where we just were. Oh my word, I'm running around in circles here, guys. They do want the ice crystals to form, but they want it to form outside of cells. And that's where the ice nucleating agents actually come in. They promote ice crystal formation outside the actual cells. And we are in a slight problem, a slight predicament. Our torch is about to run out. And I do believe we are going to be under attack now. Which is, not ideal. Not ideal, although it does mean that we are going to stay nice and warm, which is perhaps fine, depending on what we have to fight now. But yeah, this is exactly where I've been running the whole time. Okay, great. You know what, guys? What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to run away, and then that's going to be my strategy. I'm going to come back to this spot later off screen to come and collect the optical disc. Instead, what I'm going to do as I'm running away is talk a little bit more about ice nucleating agents. Okay, the INAs as they are called. As I've said, those are there to promote the formation of ice crystals, but outside of the cells. Alright, as we are just preventing further completely chilling, we are just going to... Now we can run away. Run away, run away, run away. Alright. There we go. Hello. We are going to run, 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 run. Where are you, Antilda? I need you. There we go, Antilda. We need to go, we need to go. Whee! Run away. If we can just get away from that wave, we should be fine. I'm not keen to fight them now.
Much later.
I don't know why, but they're being very aggressive. You know what? Stuff it. What we're going to do is we're going to just fire fireballs at you. Oh, my buggy is out. And everything is under attack. Okay, and I'm out. Of course I am. Okay, well. Alright, well, so that happened. I really expected the wave to stop chasing me eventually, and that just did not happen. Alright, so let's actually sleep. Stuff it, let's sleep until morning, and then I can chat in peace about ice nucleation agents. Right, so remember, the insects or the invertebrates do not want ice crystals to form in their actual cells. So, ice nucleation agents actually help promote ice crystal formation outside of actual cells. So, in the hemolymph, for example, which is like the blood of the invertebrates, but not, true blood, it's not in these veins like we have. Additionally, in the gut, in the actual stomach and digestive system of the invertebrates, that's where these ice nucleation agents actually get to work. And what they do is they form what we call heterogeneous surfaces, meaning surfaces that are not entirely the same shape throughout, or smooth, in other words. They form slightly more bumpy or oddly shaped surfaces. Which is... There we go, that's quite a potent dagger here, I must say. I'm quite enjoying it. And what that does is that it results in ice crystals forming at a slightly higher temperature than it would otherwise. Now remember, water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius, but the more impurities or the more compounds there are in the water, the lower the temperature at which water will actually freeze. And in insects and in invertebrates, where there are a whole bunch of stuff in their liquids, in their fluids, it would freeze at a relatively cool temperature. But what the ice nucleation agents do is that they result in ice crystals forming at between -3 degrees Celsius and -10 degrees Celsius, which is a slightly warmer temperature. So the ice crystals start forming when it is not that cold in the invertebrate's body yet. And that then results in the ice actually forming a little bit more slowly, which is incredibly important, because when ice crystals form very quickly, there's no time for water to actually be pulled out of cells. Instead, the water in the cells also then eventually start freezing. A whole bunch of bad stuff starts happening. In essence, what happens with these ice nucleation agents is that outside of the cells, in other words, in the hemolymph or in the gut of the invertebrates, these ice crystals now start forming. And when they start forming, because they're forming slowly, water gets pulled out of the cells and they don't freeze in the cells themselves. Instead, they now freeze outside the cells. And that is incredibly important. As we are about to just attack this northern scorpion here. Yeah, we indeed are doing less damage now than we did previously. But still doing quite a bit of damage there, so that's great. Yeah, still enjoying the daggers. They still feel quite fine and balanced to me. I'm happy with that. So as we're just going to get some more breakfast. No, we're not going to get breakfast. Breakfast is hiding underneath the leaf there. Come on, breakfast. There we go. So as the ice crystals then form outside of the cells, water actually gets pulled out of the cells towards there where the crystals are forming. That results in less water within the actual cells, and that then reduces the amount of freezing and ice crystal formation within the cells of the invertebrate. So that's actually great. And I hear a mozzie. Oh, there's the mozzie. Okay. Let's actually try to sneak up on it. And there he goes. Okay. Anyway, I was just interrupted by our little cat that demanded food now, and I've got no idea what I was busy saying. So yeah, I am not sure what I was busy talking about. I know it was something about how invertebrates stay warm, but for the life of me I could not remember, because, well, our little cat here decided to eat for 10 minutes straight. So yeah. Anyway, so in essence, to summarize what I've been babbling on about today, invertebrates are able to survive the cold a number of ways. First of all, just avoid it. Either migrate somewhere where it's warmer, like birds typically do, like moving from northern to southern hemisphere or other way around, or find a little warmer spot, either under leaf litter, or if you can find a house, or under rocks, in a warm pile of rocks, go and hide in there for the winter, somewhere where you're insulated against the cold. Or insulate yourself by having fuzz like we have with our fuzzy armor. Have hair that will trap air and, keep the ice crystals from actually forming on your body. Or alternatively, have antifreeze agents in your body that actually prevent your cells from freezing too soon. Only really if it gets extremely cold will your body freeze. Or have ice nucleation agents which promote ice formation but outside your cells, in your hemolymph or in your gut, somewhere where the ice crystal formation is not going to result in your cells actually having ice crystals forming within them, which can then burst your cells. So those are all some very nice strategies that they use, but it really only works if you are going to experience colder conditions. In order to survive the heat, well, invertebrates have a few other tricks up their little legs, and we are going to be talking about that next time. So join me next time for another episode of An Ecologist Plays Grounded, where we are going to go to the fire pit, where now the invertebrates have to survive the extreme heat. So let's talk about that then. Of course, if you've got any questions, please pop them down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, also please give it a nice like, share it with your friends. Additionally, of course, I also have a Discord channel, so feel free to come and join me on there, where we also, well, occasionally at least, chat about all kinds of fun ecological stuff. And until next time, everybody, stay safe. We'll see you all soon. Cheers!